In a world full of superpowers, there were two gangs with these crazy abilities, the science nerds and the magic crew. The science nerds, called espers, got their powers from science stuff, and they were all into scientific institutions. On the flip side, the magic crew, known as sorcerers, got their powers from magic and were hooked up with different magical groups. These two gangs had a long history of fighting over who would rule the world, and the sorcerers were all hush-hush about their existence, keeping it a secret from regular folks. Our main character, Touma Kamijou, was a total loser in the power department. He was a level 0 esper living in this crazy city called Academy City, which was like a magnet for people with superpowers. But get this, even though Toma was a 0, he had this wild skill that canceled out any power. Boom! Just a touch from his right hand and any psychic or magic power would go poof. But here's the catch. His power brought him nothing but bad luck. It was like all the luck in the universe got sucked away when he nullified other people's abilities. One day, Toma found himself being chased by a bunch of bullies. He couldn't stand seeing this poor girl being picked on, so he stepped up to save her. Lucky for him, he managed to escape, but guess what? The girl he rescued turned out to be a real tough cookie. Her name was Makoto Misaka, and she was a super-duper level 5 esper who could control electricity. Now, in this whole Academy City, there were only 7 level 5 espers, so you can imagine how awesome and sought after Makoto's power was. But instead of thanking Toma for his heroic act, she got all mad at him and challenged him to a fight. Because Toma could cancel out powers, he managed to survive Makoto's electric attack, but it caused a major power outage throughout the city. Talk about chaos. The next morning, Toma woke up to find his fridge in a sorry state. Almost all the food had gone bad. And if that wasn't enough, he saw this girl hanging on his balcony fence, claiming to be starving. Now, Toma had no clue how she got there or what her deal was, but being the kind-hearted guy he was, he took her in and offered her some of the stale food from his fridge. So, while the girl munches on the gross food, she spills the beans and tells Toma that her name is Index. But get this, she's not just any girl, she's a nun from the Church of England. And apparently a bunch of magicians are after her because she's carrying a hopping 103,000 grimoires. Yeah, you heard right, 103,000. That's like a whole library of magic books. But here's the thing, Toma doesn't buy her story. He's like, nah, magic ain't real, and I don't see any fancy books either. But Index ain't giving up that easily. She tries to convince Toma by saying that all the magical knowledge is crammed inside her noggin. That's why you can't see the books, duh. And she claims that her cloak has this magical mojo that protects her from all harm. Yeah, like a superhero cape or something. Then Toma spills the beans too. He tells Index about his superpower. His right hand can cancel out any power, even magic. So he's like, if your cloak is really enchanted, let's put it to the test, shall we? And he touches her cloak, ready to prove it's all a bunch of hocus pocus. Guess what? Toma's touch does the trick. The cloak gets shredded into pieces and Toma's like, whoa, magic is real.
Nani?
Yeah.
Finally, he's a believer. Index gets a new cloak, and they decide to go their separate ways. Toma's got to hit the books at school for some catch-up classes, and Index doesn't want him to get hurt by sticking around. She warns him that her magical pursuers will show up soon, and it ain't gonna be pretty. But here's the twist. When Toma comes home from school, he finds Index passed out, all covered in blood, right outside his door. Before he can even ask, this red-haired dude pops up and introduces himself as Stale Magnus, the magician. So this new guy, Magnus, shows up and spills the beans about why he's after Index. Apparently, she's got this insane ability to memorize stuff. I mean, she can remember anything she sees like a walking, talking encyclopedia. And get this, she's got all these magic spells stuck in her brain too, even though she can't actually use them herself. So these magicians think she's harmless and want to protect her like she's their precious little treasure. But here's the thing, Index got hurt because Magnus' partner accidentally zapped her, thinking her cloak would protect her from any attack. But Toma ain't buying Magnus' story. He's like, nah, there's gotta be something fishy going on here. He smells trouble and suspects Magnus has some sneaky plan up his sleeve. So in true hero fashion, Toma defends himself and goes on the attack. And guess what? Magnus fights back using fire magic. It's like a fiery showdown.
誰が何回やっても勝てねえって。
But here's the twist. Toma's special power kicks in, and he cancels out Magnus's fire magic like it's no big deal. Magnus thinks he's got the upper hand and summons this massive fire creature to take down Toma, because he believes Toma can't nullify such a strong attack. Well, surprise, surprise, Toma can't nullify the big bad fire creature. But hey, Index is still kicking, and she spills the beans once again. Turns out Magnus has these sneaky little runes placed all around the apartment building. Those runes are what give the fire creature its power. As long as they're around, the creature can't be defeated. Toma's got to think fast, so he bolts down the stairs and notices a whole bunch of those pesky runes stuck on the walls. He hatches a plan. He sets off the fire alarm, and water starts gushing out of the sprinklers, washing away the ink on the runes. Water douses the fire creature, and Toma rushes back upstairs to face Magnus head-on. Now get this, Toma doesn't even have a weapon. He's like, who needs weapons when you've got your bare hands? And with his sheer strength and determination, he manages to take down Magnus, defeating the magician once and for all. So after Toma showed Magnus who's boss, he decides to take the injured Index to his teacher, Komo Tsukuyomi. Now here's the funny part. Komo doesn't have any superpowers. She's just a regular old woman. But guess what? Index knows this magic ritual that can heal her wounds, but she needs some help to make it work. Problem is, Toma's power to cancel out powers would mess up the whole thing. So he's like, sorry, can't lend a hand, but I'll be here cheering you on. Instead, Index guides Komo in getting all the gear ready and performing the ritual. And guess what? It actually works. Index's injuries are healed, and she's good as new. The next day, Toma swings by Komo's place to check up on Index. He tells Komo all about his connection with Index, and she's cool with it. Then Komo says, hey, I gotta go grab some ingredients for a delicious meal. You guys hang tight. So now Toma and Index are left alone. And you know what? This is the moment Index chooses to spill the beans about the organization she's mixed up with, Necessarius. They're like this secret club, and they stuffed hundreds of thousands of grimoires into Index's brain. Yeah, she's like a walk-in library for the Church of England. The reason they did this crazy stuff is because anyone else who tries to read those grimoires, whether they're regular folks or magicians, gets into major trouble. Only Index can read them without getting all messed up. After Index's big reveal, guess who shows up? Yep, Komo's back with her groceries in hand. And get this, she invites Toma and Index to crash at her place for a while. She can cook up some tasty meals for the three of them. Okay, so picture this. Toma's strolling back home from the public bathhouse enjoying his evening. But something feels off. The streets are eerily empty. And out of nowhere, this mysterious lady shows up, swinging a sword like she's auditioning for a samurai movie. Turns out she's Kaori Kanzaki, Magnus' partner in crime. And get this, she's a magician who can make people's existence disappear for a while. Creepy, right? Anyways, Kaori's on a mission to get her hands on Index too. Here's the twist. Kaori spills the beans and reveals that she and Magnus are actually part of the same organization as Index. They're all buddies, believe it or not. They're trying to find her because she's in major danger. Kaori explains that Index's brain is crammed with all those grimoires she memorized. I mean, it's like her brain is a bookshelf bursting with magical knowledge. But here's the problem. Those grimoires take up about 85% of her brain capacity. Yeah, that's a lot. It leaves only a measly 15% for her regular everyday memories. Crazy, right? If they come to leave 15% of her non-grimoire memories every year, her brain will go kaboom and her life will be in serious jeopardy. And get this, they've only got 3 days left before the memory deletion schedule kicks in. They tried everything to find a different solution, even trying to restore her memories, but all their attempts failed. So now Index doesn't even recognize Kaori and Magnus. She just runs away from them like they're strangers. So Kaori comes up to Toma all desperate and asks him to hand over Index so they can wipe her memory and save her. But Toma ain't having any of it. He's like, nah, no way. And you know what Kaori does? She goes all Bruce Lee on him, beating him up until he's knocked out cold. It's clear she's super emotional and just wants to save her friend no matter what.
一気アルバムを胸に抱かせて。
So when Toma finally woke up, he found himself back in Komo's apartment. And guess what? Index dropped a bombshell on him. Turns out he was knocked out cold for a whole 3 days. And that meant that today was the day Index's memory was gonna get wiped clean. Yeah, talk about a ticking time bomb. Toma was totally shocked by this news. Can't blame him. And guess who shows up right on cue? Kaori and Magnus, ready to do the memory erasing gig. Index tries to protect Toma, promising she'll do whatever they say as long as they don't hurt him. But Magnus and Kaori are all like, nope, we're erasing those memories at midnight, and that's that. They make it crystal clear to Toma that he better not interfere with their plans, and then they leave. Now picture this. It's nighttime and Toma's sitting there with Index, who's still unconscious. He's racking his brain, desperately trying to come up with another way to save her. And just when he's deep in thought, his phone rings. It's Kaori on the other end. She lets him know that they're on their way, and Toma, quick on his feet, tells her that he's going to try using some science-y stuff to save Index. He thinks that in Academy City, where the technology is super advanced, they might be able to erase the memories of those grimoires, hogging 85% of her brain capacity. Kaori's like, hey, give it a shot if you want. Do your science thing, but we're still coming later to do our original plan. And don't you dare try to stand in our way. Yeah, she's dead serious. Talk about a race against the clock. Can Toma pull off a scientific miracle and save Index before Kaori and Magnus make their move? Only time will tell. So Toma's in panic mode, right? He's flipping through books about memory like a man possessed, hoping to find some magical solution. But dang it, he comes up empty-handed. No useful info there, so he's like, I gotta call my memory expert buddies. But guess what? Not a single one picks up the phone. Talk about bad timing. Toma's options are running out and time's ticking away. But finally, someone answers the phone right when the clock strikes midnight. Oh no, Magnus and Kaori show up and Toma's gotta hang up, no questions asked. It's like the universe is playing a cruel joke on him. He's gotta face the cold, hard truth that Index's memory is gonna be wiped clean and she won't remember a thing about him. Heartbreaking, I know. While Magnus and Kaori get ready for the memory erasing spell, they step out for a sec to give Toma a chance to say his goodbyes to Index. He's sitting there all alone with her. And suddenly it hits him. Something just ain't right about what Kaori said about brain capacity. Toma's got all these questions swirling in his head. Like, how do they even know that the grimoires take up 85% of Index's brain? And why is the remaining 15% only enough for 1 year's worth of info? Plus, he wonders if having too many memories could actually hurt or kill someone. These are some serious brain busters he needs answers to if he wants to save Index. So he calls up Como, who's chilling at some public memorial of all places. He's like, yo, I got some burning questions. And Como, being the smart cookie she is, explains that in the world of neurology, there's no definite limit to how much memory the human brain can hold. In fact, people can store like 140 years worth of memories up in there. And get this, it won't suffer any physical harm or drop dead just because their brain's got a lot going on. So thanks to Komo's explanation, Toma's convinced that Index won't be harmed if she doesn't go through the memory-wiping ritual. Turns out, the Church in Necessarius fed Magnus and Kaori a bunch of baloney to trick him. Sneaky, right? It seems like the Church wants to erase Index's memory to keep her under their control, like she's their little puppet. Well, that doesn't sit right with Toma. He's determined to save Index and protect her from those manipulative jerks. Now Toma knows that the whole brain capacity and memory stuff was all a lie. But here's the twist, he can't figure out why Index's condition keeps getting worse. Something's fishy. He suspects the Church put some magic inside her that makes her sick every year. And guess what? When he checks, he finds this magical rune hiding in her mouth. Like seriously, who does that? Being the hero he is, Toma touches the rune with his right hand, thinking he can cancel it out. But oh boy, that was a big mistake. It triggered Index's self-defense mode and she goes berserk, like full-on crazy mode. She even busts out this super powerful attack called St. George's Sanctuary and tries to take Toma down. Just when things seem hopeless, Kaori and Magnus burst into the room, hearing all the commotion. They see Toma in a tough spot trying to withstand Index's attack.
なんであの子が。
インデックスは魔術を使えないなんて教会が嘘ついてやがっただけだろうが。
But you know what? Toma's got nerves of steel, and he manages to explain all the lies the Church has spun. He's already destroyed the runes causing Index pain, and he's confident she can live a normal life now. The only thing left is to find a way to stop her from going berserk. Realizing their mistake, Kaori and Magnus lend a hand. They help Toma hold Index steady, giving him a chance to get up close and personal.
そんな誰もが笑って誰もが望むいい加減に始めようぜ魔術師
サルバーレ000
He touches her, disabling the self-defense system and saving the day. But here's the twist again. During the chaos, feathers from the St. George Sanctuary attack are falling everywhere. And get this, those feathers can hurt anyone who touches him. Now Toma's luck runs out and one of those pesky feathers lands on his noggin, knocking him out cold. Alright, fast forward a few days. Toma's stuck in the hospital, healing up. Meanwhile, Magnus and Kaori jet back to England to grill the church about Index's brain. They want to get to the bottom of this mystery. Later, Magnus sends a letter to Toma, giving him the lowdown on their investigation. But here's the twist. It ends up in Index's hands instead of Toma's. Hoopsie. In the letter, Magnus spills the beans. Turns out the church didn't give him a straight answer. Something's fishy, and they're gonna keep digging for the truth. But hey, here's the good news. Both Index and Toma can breathe a sigh of relief. The church and Necessarius won't be bugging Index for a while. The situation seems to have cooled down, at least for now. Now picture this. Index, all recovered and feeling better, reads the letter and decides to pay Toma a visit in the hospital. But when she enters his room, she gets the shock of her life. Toma doesn't recognize her. His memory's gone like poof. Can you imagine how devastated Index is? She's even in tears. It's a total heartbreaker for both of them. But here's the twist again. Toma can't stand to see her so sad. So he lets out a chuckle and tells her it's all a joke. What a prankster. He explains that the feather that hit him on the head a few days ago was packed with magic and made him lose his memory. But Toma's got a secret weapon called a Imagine Breaker, which can cancel out magic. Thanks to that, he managed to restore his memories. But here's the thing, the doctor knows the truth. Toma's brain cells really got damaged and he truly lost his memory. After Index leaves the room, the doctor asks Toma why he lied to her. And Toma's like, nah, I didn't want to burden her with my condition. What a guy, always looking out for others. Alright, fast forward 2 weeks. Magnus is back in Japan and he's got an important meeting lined up with Aleister Crowley, the big shot ruling over Academy City. Magnus is on a mission to save someone called Deep Blood from this sneaky magician lurking in the city. And guess what? Aleister gives Magnus the green light to recruit Toma for this mission. Why? Cause Aleister knows Toma's got that sweet Imagine Breaker power that can zap away any magic. Talk about a handy superpower. As Toma's health improves, he finally gets the okay to leave the hospital. But here's the twist, he keeps his memory loss a secret from Index. He's trying to protect her, you know. The two of them head out to a fast food joint for a bite. And guess who they run into? A girl dressed up as a shrine maiden, claiming to be a magician. Before Index can even ask which organization she belongs to, a bunch of guys in suits swoop in and snatch the girl away. Talk about a vanishing act. When they get back from the restaurant, Index spots this adorable cat and goes all, "Aw, I want to take it home." She's off chasing after the cat like a maniac. But guess who she bumps into? You got it, Magnus himself. He spills the beans about his mission to Toma, explaining everything. Now, Toma doesn't remember Magnus due to his memory loss, but he plays along and acts like he knows the guy. And hey, he's ready to listen to the plan. Let's see what these two can cook up together. Alright, let's dive into Magnus's explanation to Toma. It's a real mind bender. So there's this girl named Deep Blood, right? She's got some seriously special powers, like being able to take out vampires. Cool, huh? But here's the catch. She's trapped at Misawa Cram School. And get this, the whole joint has been taken over by this alchemist dude called Aureolus Izzard. Why? No one knows. But one thing's for sure, Aureolus wants Deep Blood real bad. And Magnus needs Toma's help to rescue her. At first, Toma's all like, nah, not my problem, not my circus, not my monkeys. He doesn't have a personal stake in the mission or in Deep Blood. But hey, Magnus ain't letting him off the hook that easy. He pulls out the big guns and threatens to have Necessarius take Index away. Talk about some serious leverage. So after dropping Index and the cat off at home, Toma decides to tag along with Magnus to Misawa Cram School. They arrive at the place and Magnus shows Toma a photo of Deep Blood. Surprise, surprised, it's the same girl they met at the fast food joint earlier. Her real name is Asa Himgami. Small world, huh? Once they're all geared up and ready, Magnus and Toma enter the cram school building. And what do they find? A body and armor lying in the lobby. Weird, right? But here's the thing, everyone around them acts like it's no big deal, as they're seeing a corpse is just a walk in the park. Magnus explains that the fallen knight was probably one of the 13 knights of the Roman Catholic Church. And the reason people are acting all oblivious is because there's this magical barrier in place that hides anything with a magical vibe from their sight. It's like the corpse is chillin' in a different dimension while the folks inside the building are in La La Land. After giving Toma the lowdown, Magnus and him keep on searching for Aureolus. But hold on tight, cause here's where things get even weirder. When they reach the cafeteria, they come face to face with some seriously strange stuff. The students there are in a total trance, busting out weird magic left and right. And guess who becomes the target of their magical attacks? You got it, Magnus and Toma. They're forced to make a run for it, and in all the chaos, they get separated. Magnus finally tracks down Aureolus, and Toma accidentally bumps into Isa. Toma spills the beans about their rescue mission, but here's the twist. Isa willingly stayed at the cram school. Aureolus didn't force her or anything. You see, Isa's got this blood that vampires just can't resist, and when they get near her, she unconsciously takes him out. But get this, she's all about peace and harmony, even with vampires. So she sought out Aureolus, who promised to find a way to heal her powers. In exchange, she'd bring him vampires for his experiments, but he promised not to kill him. While Isa and Toma are having a chat, Aureolus pops up and uses his abilities to seal Toma's memories. When Toma wakes up, he's in a park with Magnus by his side. They got no clue how they ended up there or what their mission was, but they have this nagging feeling that they forgot something super important. But hold on tight, cause Toma's got a trick up his sleeve. Reflexively, he puts his right hand on his head and bam. He breaks the spell Aureolus put on him. Suddenly, everything comes rushing back. He remembers the whole shebang at the cram school. And hey, he shakes Magnus to help him regain his memories too. Teamwork makes the dream work. Meanwhile, Index is getting worried sick cause Toma hasn't shown up. She's like, where the heck is he? So she taps into her magical energy radar and tracks down Magnus, which leads her straight to the cram school. And guess who she meets there? Aureolus himself. He's got this weird sense of deja vu when he sees Index and decides to capture her. But don't fret, cause Toma and Magnus come storming back to the front of the cram school building. And guess who's waiting for him? The 12 Knights of Roan, ready to throw down. They launch this epic attack that could wipe out the whole building. Yikes. But hold on, Aureolus ain't no ordinary dude. He busts out his true power, called Ars Magna, and restores the building like it's no big deal.
Ars Magna. Aureolus no hontou no jitsuruku.
As Toma searches through the building, he finds Index's robe on the ground and her pet cat is hiding inside. That's when it hits him. Index must be somewhere in the school. He and Magnus race in, determined to find her and bring her back safe and sound. They finally track down Aureolus in a room where Isa and Index are chilling. Turns out Aureolus and Index were partners 3 years ago, and he couldn't accept the fact that she had to go through this memory-erasing ritual every year. So now he's got this crazy plan to turn Index into a vampire with Isa's help, thinking she can handle all those memories in her brain. But here's the kicker. Aureolus has no clue that Toma already saved Index's life with his powers. When Magnus spills the beans, Aureolus gets all worked up and thinks Toma ruined everything. In a fit of frustration, Aureolus attacks Toma and Magnus with his super-powered magnificent Rs. He can turn anything into reality just by thinking and saying it, like making Toma and Magnus trip and fall. He even tries to take out Isa, whom he no longer needs. But hey, Toma's not one to back down. He swiftly grabs Isa, foiling Aureolus's plans before they can even get started.
だから口にできなかった。その刀身を回転射出せよ。何?
They go at it for a while, and Toma finally figures out how Aureolus's power works. He decides to play a little mind game and mess with Aureolus's thoughts. This throws Aureolus off balance and messes with his head, making him think that Toma's some kind of monster. And guess what? Aureolus's thoughts become reality, turning Toma's right hand into a full-blown dragon. In the end, Aureolus passes out from sheer terror at the sight of the dragon. The guy's literally scared stiff. After the intense battle, Toma ends up in the hospital to get his right hand reattached. Ouch, but don't worry, Magnus pays him a visit to deliver some good news. Aureolus lost his memory and his crazy powers. Meanwhile, the church decides to take Asa under their wing to keep her safe. A few days later, Toma is back at school, and guess who he bumps into? It's Mikoto, the lightning girl, distributing drinks at a vending machine. They chill together and have a chat, having a great time. But hold on a second. A girl who looks just like Mikoto suddenly pops up out of nowhere. Turns out she's Mikoto's younger sister, also named Mikoto Misaka. Talk about double trouble. To avoid confusion, Toma decides to call her Misaka. The next day, Toma runs into Misaka again, and she's found a stray black cat on the street that she wants to take care of. The only problem is she has no idea how to care for a cat. So Toma comes up with a plan. He'll go to a bookstore and grab some books on cat care. He leaves Misaka outside of the black cat while he heads inside. But oh no, trouble's brewing. Out of the blue, this mysterious person named Accelerator shows up and starts attacking Misaka. They have a wild duel in an alley, but poor Misaka is no match for Accelerator. It's a quick and devastating battle, ending with Misaka's untimely demise. Oh, the tragedy. Just moments later, Toma finishes buying the book and heads outside, only to find that Misaka, who was supposed to be waiting for him, has vanished. He starts searching the area and stumbles upon bloodstains in an alley. The trail leads him to a horrifying sight. Misaka's lifeless body covered in blood. In shock, Toma calls the police, but when they arrive and go to the alley, there's no sign of Misaka's body or any blood. It's like it all disappeared into thin air. Toma's mind is spinning, but his confusion reaches new heights when he spots Misaka alive and well, carrying a big black bag that looks mighty suspicious. And to make matters even more bizarre, a bunch of girls who look just like Misaka suddenly appear out of nowhere. Turns out they're clones created for some military experiment. Still trying to wrap his head around everything, Toma heads to Mikoto Misaka's original dormitory to learn more about these clones. But when he arrives, Mikoto is nowhere to be found. All he encounters is her roommate Kuroko, a girl with teleportation powers. Toma decides to wait for Mikoto, but just when he's about to settle in, the dormitory guards show up for an inspection. Oh, Toma's forced to hide under Mikoto's bed, hoping he won't get caught. As Toma hides under Mikoto's bed, he accidentally stumbles upon a top-secret document that's as sneaky as a ninja. And guess what? It's a report all about Accelerator spilled tea on his secret plans. The report spills the beans that Accelerator is the numero uno strongest level 5 esper in all of Academy City. He's been on a mission to level up even further by battling Mikoto's clones. Can you believe it? The clones were basically created as his personal punching bags, like they're training dummies for his superpowers. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Toma bids farewell to the dormitory and sets off to find Mikoto, his lightning buddy. And you know what? He spots her standing on a bridge, contemplating life and stuff. Toma doesn't waste any time and confronts her about the whole experiment thingamajig. But guess what again? Mikoto's already in the loop, my friend. She's been trying to put a stop to this madness by smashing up the research facilities, but those sneaky peeps keep building new ones faster than a squirrel hoarding nuts for winter. But hold your horses, because Mikoto has a plan up her sleeve. She's willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, taking on Accelerator, that super strong dude, all by herself. She believes that if she can defeat him, the researchers will have no reason to continue the experiment, and her sisters, those precious clones, will be saved. What a brave girl. But Toma isn't buying it. Nope, not at all. He thinks Mikoto is underestimating Accelerator's strength, and he's worried sick about her. He can't let her go all kamikaze on this. He's convinced that there's got to be another way to solve this mess. So as Mikoto gets all fired up and zaps Toma with her electrifying powers, he doesn't even try to nullify the shock. Nope, he takes the hits like a champ, getting knocked down each time. But you know what? Toma's got the spirit of a true warrior. He keeps getting back up, no matter how many times he falls. And then bam, Mikoto launches a super-duper mega powerful attack that sends Toma flying and knocks him down real good. He's down for the count and can't get up. Ouch. But hey, guess what happens next? Mikoto can't help but tear up when she sees Toma's determination. She stays right there with him until he finally wakes up. That's what friends are for, right? When Toma finally wakes up, he's got a genius plan brewing in his mind like a mad scientist in action. He figures out a way to put an end to the experiment without anyone getting hurt. You ready for this? Brace yourself. Toma decides that he, the weakest esper of them all, will challenge and defeat Accelerator, the strongest level 5 esper. Crazy, right? But hear him out. Toma believes that if the researchers witness the weakest esper knocking down the almighty Accelerator, they'll freak out and shut the whole experiment down on the spot. Brilliant, right? Mikoto tries to reason with Toma, telling him that she's already fought Accelerator and knows he's way too strong for him, especially since Toma is injured and all. But hey, you can't change Toma's mind once he's got an idea stuck in there. So with determination shining in his eyes, Toma demands to know where he can find Accelerator. Mikoto has no other choice but to spill the beans and give him the deets. Toma embarks on a thrilling journey, racing against time to reach the showdown spot. And guess what? He arrives just in the nick of time to witness Accelerator beating the living daylights out of one of Mikoto's clones, ready to deliver the final blow. Without a second thought, Toma charges at Accelerator like a bull seeing red, aiming to save the poor clone in distress. But hold on tight, my friend, cause Toma quickly realizes he's bitten off more than he can chew. Accelerator's got this insane power to control and manipulate all the stuff he touches. It's like he's got the ultimate cheat code. He starts launching attacks from afar, hurling objects at Toma, who's left dodging and ducking like a ninja in action. The battle between the two is fierce and intense, like a dance of epic proportions. But here's the plot twist. In the midst of the epic clash, some containers get knocked over, releasing a cloud of flour into the air. Yep, you heard that right, flour. Now there's dust flying everywhere, making it hard to see what's going on. And guess what? Accelerator, the crafty one, seizes the moment and turns that cloud of dust into a powerful explosion, making things go kaboom. It's like a scene straight out of an action movie, my friend. With the explosion behind him, Toma manages to find cover behind a nearby container, like a sneaky squirrel hiding from a ferocious hawk. He cleverly pretends to pass out, luring Accelerator closer like a spider luring its prey. When Accelerator gets close enough, Toma springs into action with lightning speed and delivers a knockout punch right to Accelerator's face. Boom! Toma realizes that his imagined breaker has the power to neutralize Accelerator's abilities, like a trump card up his sleeve. He keeps landing punches on Accelerator, refusing to back down. But, oh boy, Accelerator's not one to go down easily. He pulls off a slippery escape, like a fish slipping through a fisherman's net. The battle rages on. Accelerator starts playing with the wind, manipulating it like a mischievous conductor. He launches powerful gusts at Toma, trying to blow him away. The wind gets wilder and wilder, building up into a swirling tornado of danger, threatening to swallow Toma whole. Just when things are looking dire, our hero Mikoto, the lightning girl, arrives on the scene. She sees Accelerator turning the wind into a plasma attack and knows she's got to act fast. She hunts down one of her clones that Accelerator had defeated earlier and gives her a mission. The plan is simple yet genius. The clones join forces, using their powers to rev up the wind turbines in the city. The spinning turbines mess up Accelerator's wind game like a mischievous squirrel running through a windmill farm. The winds that he's manipulating become chaotic and disrupted. And guess what? The plan works. The winds lose their power and the plasma attack dissipates into thin air, like a pop balloon deflating. Now Accelerator is mad, like a raging bull ready to charge. He goes for Toma, but our quick-witted hero manages to dodge the attack, like a nimble cat avoiding a swiping paw. Seizing the opportunity, Toma unleashes a mighty punch to Accelerator's face like a superhero delivering the final blow. Down goes Accelerator. The battle takes its toll on Toma, and he collapses onto the ground, exhausted but triumphant. After his eventful battle, Toma wakes up in a hospital room with one of Mikoto's clones keeping him company. She spills the beans that the experiment got scrapped thanks to Accelerator's defeat. The remaining clones are going to a fancy facility to get the care they need and sort out their growth issues. Phew, what a relief. But wait, there's more. A few days later, Toma heads back to school, ready to get back into the swing of things. However, his teacher Como thinks it's best for him to take a break from all the craziness and let the dust settle. And you know what? Toma actually takes her advice. He packs his bags, grabs Index, and off they go to his sunny beach resort. Time to kick back and relax, baby. But hold on to your sunscreen because things take a turn for the bizarre. Toma spots his cousin Otoheim and she's a total dead ringer for Mikoto. Like seriously, they could be twins separated at birth. And get this, his own mom, Shina, looks just like Index. What are the odds, right? Toma's dad, Toya, is the odd one out, though. He doesn't resemble any of Toma's pals. Confused by this family friend doppelganger situation, Toma straight up asks his dad if the two ladies with him are the real deal. Toya confirms that, yep, they're Toma's actual mom and cousin. Now, how in the world is his dad clueless about this mind-bending coincidence? It's a head-scratcher, all right. But the fun doesn't stop there, my friends. As they settle into the beach resort, Toma notices that the weirdness isn't limited to just his family. Oh no, the townsfolk have turned into familiar faces too. The innkeeper could be Magnus's twin, and Index has transformed into one of Toma's schoolmates. It's like stepping into a topsy-turvy world where everyone is playing dress-up. The catch: Toma seems to be the only one who realizes what's going on. Toma, feeling overwhelmed by the whole doppelganger situation, decides to take a breather and go for a walk. He's hoping a little fresh air will clear his mind and help him unravel this mind-bending mystery. But just when he thought things couldn't get any stranger, a mysterious girl pops out of nowhere wielding a chainsaw. Yes, you heard that right, a chainsaw. This girl, who goes by the name Misa Kroitsev, claims to be a magician from the Anihilatus organization of the Russian Orthodox Church. She's on a mission to investigate the whole appearance-changing phenomenon, and she thinks Toma is the culprit behind it all. Before you could say chainsaw massacre, Toma's classmates, Kaori and Motoharu, swoop in to save the day. They gauge for Toma's innocence and manage to fend off Mrs. chainsaw-wielding antics. Phew, close call. Kaori and Motoharu spill the beans on what's really going on. They explain that the whole appearance-changing madness is the result of a spell called Fallen Angel. They don't know who cast the spell or why they decided to mess with everyone's looks. But here's the kicker: they're pretty sure Toma is at the center of it all. That's why you can still see Kaori and Motoharu with their original appearances, while everyone else is playing dress-up. Now, in order to break the spell and restore the world to its normal state, Toma and his pals need to track down the spellcaster or the location of the ritual. It's a race against time to defeat the magician or put an end to the ritual before everyone is stuck with these wacky appearances forever. Toma and Toya are chilling in a park, lost in their own thoughts. Toma's curiosity is eating away at him, wondering what his dad really looks like underneath the whole appearance-changing madness. His memory loss has left him clueless about Toya's true appearance. Just as Toma is about to bring up the topic, they spot Misha nearby, looking all sad and alone. Being the good-hearted guy he is, Toya suggests that Toma go and keep her company. No time to waste, Toma marches up to Misha and extends his hand, offering her a piece of gum. Misha seems a bit hesitant at first, but eventually takes the gum from Toma's hand. Misha spills the beans to Toma about this whole angel fall situation. She explains that if they don't put a stop to the spell, the world is toast. And not the yummy kind you put in a toaster, mind you. The next day, Toma's mom, Shina, decides to head back home for some important stuff, and Misha insists on tagging along. Once they're gone, Toya drops a bombshell on Toma. He suspects that Misha might have a little crush on him. Toya noticed Misha being all hesitant to touch his hand when she took the gum. Suspicious, right? Toma's gears start turning. He knows that his right hand can cancel out magic spells with just a touch. So if Misha is the spellcaster behind Angel Fall, she might be afraid to touch Toma's hand and have her whole spell go poof. Toma, Kaori, and Motoharu are on high alert now. This Angel Fall thing sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. Misha claims it could destroy the whole world. Yikes. But here's the kicker. Neither Kaori nor Motoharu have ever heard of Angel Fall before. That leaves them wondering if Misha might be the culprit behind this magical mayhem. Toma and Motoharu had their detective hats on as they paid a visit to Misha's house. But guess what? The family photos there looked eerily similar to Toya's current appearance. Dun dun dun, it hit them like a ton of bricks. Toya might just be the mastermind behind Angel Fall. Only the spellcaster would remain unaffected after all. Motoharu agreed, scratching his head for any other explanation. Together, they vowed to confront Toya and get some answers ASAP. Toma sprinted back to the inn, thinking that's where Toya would be. And bingo, he found him chilling on the beach. Toma unleashed his suspicions like a detective in an intense interrogation scene. But hold your horses. Toya claimed he knew nothing about Angel Fall. Toma was left scratching his head, feeling like a detective who hit a dead end. Just when things couldn't get any more puzzling, Misha and Kaori showed up like heroes on the scene. Kaori dropped a bombshell. She had contacted the Russian Orthodox Church to check on Misha's identity. Plot twist. Turns out there was no Misha Kroitsev registered there. The church only had records of a nun named Sasha Krotsev, who looked a lot like Misha. Gasped. So, our Misha Krotsev was actually Archangel Gabriel in disguise, playing pretend all along. Now that her secret was out, Gabriel was desperate to tie up loose ends. She whipped out a magic circle, ready to wipe out Toma, Kaori, and Toya. But never fear, brave Kaori stepped up to face Gabriel all by herself, while Toma and Toya sought refuge in the inn. It was like a superhero showdown.
その戒めの中に神を傷つけてはならぬというものがありますが一層が一刻も早くエンゼルポールを
Inside the inn, Toma and Toya had a heart-to-heart with Motoharu, who dropped a mind-blowing truth bomb. Boom, it was Toya who unintentionally triggered the angel fall spell by arranging some souvenirs in his house just right. Who would have thunk it? Time is ticking, and they had to deactivate the spell pronto. Motoharu had two options up his sleeve: take out Toya or destroy the ritual site at Toya's house. In the end, he chose the latter, using his magical powers to send Toya's house into oblivion. Boom! Gabriel was forced to retreat to the heavens, tail between her legs.
清流朱雀玄武白虎
やめろ
嘘つきなんだぜ
After a few days, Toma found himself back in the bustling streets when suddenly Mikoto appeared like a bolt of lightning. She had a favor to ask. She wanted Toma to be her pretend boyfriend to scare off a persistent stalker named Unabara. Toma, being the kind-hearted guy he is, agreed to help and put on a grand performance as Mikoto's swoon-worthy beau. Time to teach Unabara a lesson. As part of their genius plan, Toma and Mikoto embarked on a date. Well, at least that's what it was on paper. In reality, Toma was more focused on his homework than on sweeping Mikoto off her feet. Hey, a guy's gotta get those assignments done, right? Mikoto, being the sweetheart she is, lent a hand and helped Toma with his work. But alas, duty called and she had to step away for a moment to grab a drink. Just as Mikoto left, Unabara sauntered over to Toma, full of curiosity about Mikoto. Surprisingly, Unabara seemed like a decent guy, not the creepy stalker we expected. He even helped Toma with his homework while they chatted. Turns out, Unabara genuinely cared for Mikoto and had good intentions. Toma couldn't keep this revelation to himself and spilled the beans to Mikoto when she returned. He tried to convince her to give Unabara a chance, but Mikoto wasn't convinced and instead offered to buy Toma some bread as a token of gratitude for being her fake boyfriend. Off she went to the bakery, leaving Toma waiting across the street. As Toma waited, Unabara approached him again, striking up another conversation. But wait, Toma noticed something fishy. A person who looked exactly like Unabara entered the bakery. This imposter had a bandaged arm, giving Toma a hunch that something wasn't right. With his instincts in full gear, Toma dashed towards the bakery, determined to uncover the truth. But just as he was about to reach it, the real Unabara, or rather the imposter disguised as him, attacked Toma from behind. This sneaky imposter had long-range powers, making it tricky for Toma to defend himself. Toma had no choice but to make a run for it, seeking the wisdom of his trusty sidekick, Index, who knew a thing or two about magicians and their tricks. Toma reached out to Index for some magical wisdom. He asked her about shape-shifting magicians and how they could mimic others. Index spilled the beans. Apparently, it was an Aztec magician who used a fancy black obsidian blade. That blade had the power to reflect light from Venus and unleash some serious attacks. Venus, huh? That's one stylish weapon. Armed with this knowledge, Toma knew he had to come up with a plan to defeat the imposter. He hatched a brilliant idea. Lure the sneaky imposter to a construction site with low lighting. That way, Toma could gain the upper hand.
覚悟してくださいバカなクソ
As they duked it out, the imposter spilled the beans on his mission. Apparently, his higher-ups had ordered him to take out Toma, the supposed threat to the delicate balance between magic and science. Rumor had it that Toma had somehow united 103,000 grimoires and level 5 espers, a recipe for chaos that could shatter the truce between the two worlds. But wait, there was more. The imposter also confessed that he had a personal stake in this battle. He was head over heels in love with Mikoto and wanted to protect her. Talk about complicated feelings. Despite this surprising revelation, Toma and the imposter continued to throw punches, refusing to back down. In the end, fate dealt a cruel blow. The imposter was struck by falling steel poles, leaving him gravely wounded. But before he breathed his last, he pleaded with Toma to carry on his mission and protect Mikoto. Meanwhile, poor Accelerator, the once revered strongest esper in Academy City, found himself in a bit of a pickle. After his defeat by Toma, his reputation took a nosedive. He retreated into a pit of loneliness and despair, isolating himself from the world. But guess who decided to crash the pity party? A little girl in a veil started tailing him. Turns out she was one of Mikoto's clones who hadn't quite grown up properly. She looked like a 10-year-old kid. Her name? Last Order. Despite Accelerator's lack of interest in her or her backstory, she just wouldn't leave him alone. She followed him everywhere, even to his apartment, begging to be allowed to crash there. But Accelerator wasn't having any of it. He just wanted some peace and quiet. The next day, Accelerator had no choice but to take Last Order to a restaurant in hopes of ditching her. But guess who showed up? It was Aomai, a former researcher from the Mikoto clone project. Accelerator wanted to give him a piece of his mind, but he decided to focus on Last Order instead. While Last Order chowed down on some grub, something unexpected happened. She suddenly collapsed. Turns out she couldn't stay out of her incubator for too long without facing serious consequences. Reluctantly, Accelerator had to leave Last Order at the restaurant and rush off to find Kikyo Yoshikawa, the big-shot researcher in charge of the clone project. He thought maybe she had a manual or something on how to care for clones. But boy, was he in for a surprise. Kikyo spilled the beans that Last Order wasn't your typical clone and couldn't be cared for with just a manual. No, Last Order had a crucial role as the administrator and linker of the Misaka clone network. But here's the kicker. Some sneaky guy named Amai injected her with a nasty virus. And get this, the virus was set to go haywire in the middle of the night. If it wasn't stopped, the virus would spread like wildfire throughout the clone network, causing all the clones to go berserk and potentially meet their doom. But wait, there was still hope. Kikyo revealed two options to Accelerator. Hunt down Amai and force him to spill the beans on stopping the virus, or return Last Order to her incubator. Accelerator chose the latter option and raced back to the restaurant where he had left Last Order. But oh, folks, things took a twist. When he got there, Last Order had vanished into thin air. Accelerator suspected that Amai had swooped in and kidnapped her. What sneaky villain. No time to waste, my friends. Accelerator immediately reported the kidnapping to Kikyo, who sprang into action. She beefed up security all over Academy City and told Accelerator to search the areas with lax security, hoping to catch Amai off guard. Meanwhile, she got to work locating the incubator and reuniting with Last Order ASAP. It was a race against time, and they knew they had to move fast to save Last Order and put a stop to that pesky virus. After a tireless search, Accelerator finally tracked down Amai. But get this, he tried to run Accelerator over with his car. Talk about a close call. But here's the kicker. When Amai's car crashed into Accelerator, the tables turned and the car got squished like a bug. Amai didn't fare much better either, as Accelerator gave him a good old beating. With Amai taken care of, Accelerator contacted Kikyo to give her an update on his whereabouts and check on Last Order. But here's the bad news. The virus had activated earlier than expected, and they were helpless to stop it. Kikyo dropped a bombshell, saying the only way to stop the virus was to kill Last Order. Oh no, we can't have that. Accelerator, being the hero he is, hatched a plan to save the day without harming Last Order. He decided to use his special abilities to dive into a clean copy of Last Order's personality and zap that virus out of existence from the inside. Sounds like a plan, right? But just when he was making progress, guess who woke up? That's right, Amai, the troublemaker. And he had a gun. Oh. Now Accelerator could have easily deflected the bullet with his powers, but he had his priorities straight. He focused all his energy on eliminating the virus, even if it meant taking a bullet to the head. Ouch! Accelerator collapsed, badly injured but not out for the count. But wait, the story isn't over yet. Our hero was in a tough spot, wounded and defenseless against Amai. Just when things were looking grim, Kikyo swooped in like a boss and shot Amai, putting an end to his villainous ways. Phew, that was a close one.
きっとまだ未練が残っていたのでしょうね。終わりよ、甘い青。
強さだよ。
As Accelerator recovered from his injuries, he learned that he had suffered some brain damage from that nasty gunshot wound. It would take time for him to heal completely and get back to his old self. Meanwhile, Toma's class got a cool new addition, a transfer student named Aza. Toma was pleasantly surprised to see her and excited to have her in his class. While they were getting to know each other, Toma noticed that Index had magically appeared at school too. And guess what? She had made friends with another new student, Hyoka Kazakiri. Talk about a trio. As the three of them sat together in the school cafeteria having a great time chatting, their fun was interrupted by none other than Komo, the scolding teacher. Oh boy, Toma was in trouble for missing the opening ceremony. Just when things were getting serious, Hyoka suddenly vanished into thin air, making Aiza suspicious. She whispered to Toma that back at her old school, Hyoka was this super smart student who always ranked first, but nobody had ever actually seen her. Aiza wondered if Hyoka had some kind of superpower that allowed her to hide her appearance. She warned Toma to be cautious and spilled the beans that Hyoka was the only transfer student this semester. Meanwhile, during lunch break, Kuroko decided to take a leisurely stroll. Little did she know, she would come face to face with a sneaky magician named Sherry Cromwell. And get this, Sherry was illegally hanging out in Academy City. But you can't mess with Kuroko's sense of justice. She wasted no time challenging Sherry to a duel. At first, Kuroko seemed to have the upper hand, showing off her teleportation skills and all. But hold on tight, Sherry summoned a golem that managed to trap Kuroko. Oh, just when things were looking bleak, our hero Mikoto showed up to save the day. With a zap of her electric powers, she destroyed the golem and freed Kuroko. But here's the twist. Sherry had escaped to an underground mall and trapped innocent people inside. Our brave heroes Toma, Index, and Hyoka found themselves right in the middle of the chaos when Sherry unleashed her golem attack in the underground mall. It was pandemonium. The golem was wreaking havoc and poor Hyoka got hit by one of its deadly blows. She took a whack to the head and collapsed to the ground. Toma rushed to Hyoka's side only to be stunned by what he saw. Her head was cracked open, and inside was a shining crystal. It was like she was a walking mannequin or something. Toma couldn't believe his eyes and knew he had to uncover the truth behind this bizarre situation. Even though she was injured, Hyoka managed to gather her wits and fled in a panic. She darted past Sherry, catching the magician's attention. Determined to capture her creation, Sherry gave chase, hot on Hyoka's heels. In the midst of the chaos, Toma received a call from Komo, the scolding teacher. She spilled the beans about Hyoka's true identity. Brace yourselves, folks, Hyoka wasn't human. She was an artificial being created from the energy released by the espers in Academy City. How that energy turned into a human-like form was a mystery, but here's the kicker. Hyoka had no clue she wasn't human. Learning the truth didn't deter Toma one bit. He was determined to save his friend no matter what. After all, friendship had the power to conquer any challenge. With his heart set on rescuing Hyoka, Toma sprang into action. But guess what? Just when Hyoka managed to regenerate her face and close the hole in her head, Sherry caught up to her and commanded her golem to attack. The stakes were high and our heroes were facing their toughest battle yet. Guess what, folks? Our hero Toma and the soldiers swooped in just in the nick of time to rescue Hyoka. They unleash a flurry of bullets at the golem, keeping it busy while Toma takes on Sherry herself. But here's the twist. Sherry realizes she can't take Toma on solo and slyly sticks some magic thingy on the floor, giving her the perfect escape route. Sneaky, sneaky. And with Sherry gone, the golem poops out and collapses all on its own. But hold your horses, because Toma's not buying Sherry's getaway story. Why would she flee when her target, Hyoka, was right there? Toma puts on his thinking cap and has an aha moment. He figures out that Sherry might not be after Hyoka at all. Nope, her grand plan is to mess up the peaceful harmony between Necessarius and Academy City, starting a big old war between magic and science. And you know what? Toma suspects her real target is none other than Index. Without wasting a single second, Toma dives headfirst into the hole in the floor, chasing after Sherry like a boss. Meanwhile, Index is in hot pursuit of her sneaky little cat when, out of nowhere, the ground in front of her transforms into a giant golem. Talk about a surprise party. But our fearless Index doesn't back down. She flips through her trusty grimoires, searching for the scoop on golems and BAM. She launches an attack. Unfortunately, it's like a tickle fight for the golem. It barely phases the big guy. But don't you worry, our hero Toma eventually catches up to Sherry, and guess what? She spills the beans and confirms all his suspicions. Her plan all along was to stir up trouble between magic and science in Academy City. You see, about 2 decades ago, Sherry had a friend who took part in a crazy experiment that aimed to combine esper powers and magic. Sadly, it ended in a total disaster, and her friend paid the ultimate price. Now, Sherry wants to make sure nobody ever tries to mix magic and science again. She's hell-bent on sparking a war between Academy City and Necessarius, all to protect others from suffering the same fate as her poor friend. Toma is fuming mad at Sherry's wacky ideas. He just can't stomach the fact that she doesn't believe espers and magicians can peacefully coexist. It's like they're from different planets. They try to talk it out, but their opposing beliefs make it clear that a peaceful chat is out of the question. So what's Toma left to do? Well, he has no choice but to defeat Sherry and prove her wrong.
頭の中なんて初めからぐちゃぐちゃなんだよ。俺から大切な人を奪わないでくれ。自分を止めてほしいって気持ちを理解できてるってわけか。
While this epic showdown is going down, guess who swoops in to save the day? It's none other than Hyoka, bursting onto the scene just in time to rescue Index from becoming pancake paste under the golem's massive fists. Talk about a heroic entrance. Hyoka wastes no time and spills the beans to Index, confessing that she's not actually a human. But that doesn't stop her from throwing down with the golem like a champ. The battle between Hyoka and the golem is like a fireworks show on steroids, big booms, dazzling sparks, and jaw-dropping stunts. But just when things seem to be at their most intense, Toma storms in like a superhero on a mission. With one final epic blow, he obliterates the golem, sending it into scrap metal oblivion.
見せてやるってな。
With the dust settling, poor Hyoka feels a little down in the dumps. She's worried that nobody will want to be her friend once they find out the truth about her non-human status. But guess what? Toma and Index are quick to reassure her that they still think she's the bee's knees and want to be her pals. In fact, Index even wraps her in a warm, comforting hug. Aw, friendship conquers all. Sadly, their happy hangout time is cut short. Later that day, Hyoka fades away like a puff of smoke. But don't fret, my friends, because she's not actually gone for good. She whispers to Index that she may be invisible to others now, but she'll still be there, listening to her every word. How mysterious. And just like that, our anime adventure comes to a close. But fear not, because the memories and friendships made along the way will last forever. Stay tuned for more thrilling tales and quirky characters in the next exciting series. Until then, keep those smiles shining bright.